Hi, everyone, and welcome back. This is Alexander Lim, and welcome to AuthorStory. Our featured book for this episode, which you can check out by clicking the Amazon link in the video description below, is Dare to Believe 12 Lessons for Living Your Soul Purpose. Jessica joins as the author and our guest. She has spent 2 decades in the corporate world experiencing all its highs and lows before reinventing her life and herself as a speaker and as a leadership coach. So, Jessica, welcome very much to Author Story.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm really grateful to be here with you today.
Great. You're welcome. You're welcome. So, to start off, Jessica, a lot of us, particularly, in the middle class, we are familiar with the old adage of working hard and climbing the corporate ladder to achieve success, and definitely your 20-year corporate career reflects this kind of attitude. Was this the kind of, just to ask, was this kind of upbringing and attitude you had when you were growing up?
Yeah, it's interesting and it's a great question. I was definitely taught to work hard. Both of my parents, were the first to graduate college and get graduate degrees, and I saw them working very hard.
Hmm.
But as I talk about a bit in the book, I was never told not to pursue my dreams. That was a choice I seemed to make on my own in terms
Hmm.
of just what I witnessed in society. It
Right,
looked
right.
very hard. It really, and I started adopting what I call this version of survival consciousness very early on. It's
Hmm.
like the world was something very hard. I was just trying to survive. And, I didn't really give myself permission to, pursue what I was really passionate about. That felt frivolous to me. So, to answer your question, yes, in part, but it was
Right.
really my own conclusions I made from my own life experiences and what I perceived the world to be.
Right. Okay. Okay. And this, this kind of like looking at things objectively. Was this like present with you throughout your life, or was it just a recent development?
Well, it's really interesting. My first, so I went to undergrad, I went to graduate school, and my first job in my 20s, I started having panic attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And all I could describe, I went and, sought help, as most of us do when you kind of encounter that kind of a thing. And all I could articulate at the time, I was like, I can't believe this is life. Like I was
Uh-huh.
in shock, because I was like, is this what I'm going to do for the next 50 years? I'm going to, get on the subway to go to work every day. I'm going to
Right.
do kind of repetitive tasks all day long that I don't really love. And I'm just going to repeat that over and over and over again. Oh my
Right.
God.
Right. Right.
And it was then, and then that grew for me over time. And I just got to the place in the conclusion. I said, this can't be what's meant for us.
Uh-huh.
I understand that this is what most of us do. And I understand that on a collective societal level, like we've agreed, quote unquote, this is life, but I can't accept that. And my soul just started becoming more and more unwilling to accept that and to believe that there was something more and a greater possibility for myself and ultimately for all of us.
Right. So, was there any one realization that made you realize, there's got to be a lot more than this, or was like, did it build up over time?
It was a buildup over time, and it was truly like the way I look. Hindsight's always 2020, but the way I
Mm.
look back upon it now is I really felt like my soul was kind of screaming out to me,
Ah.
and and it just started to have realizations like, wow, life can't be about getting paid to suffer. I mean, that's how
Right.
I
Right.
felt
Right.
my job was.
Uh-huh.
It was just a collection of realizations over time,
Mm.
and you know, and a reaction to, am I really supposed to be this stressed all the time every day? Can this, and it was very spiritual questions. Can this really be what, the universe, God, divine, whatever, you want to call it based on your beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
is meant for us? And for me, as I deepened that path, the answer for me was no, it can't be.
Right, right, okay. So I'd like to make this a little bit clearer to our listeners. Um, if you don't mind, so our listeners can get a good idea of what it was like for you. Can you put us in the shoes of Jessica when she was, at the end of her figurative rope, and she realized that there's got to be more than this.
Yeah. So, and that's a really good segue to talking about why, because that was really at the time that I started thinking about the book. And I was about 36 at the time. I had
Mhm.
spent at this point, close to, 15 years in the corporate world.
Right,
I
right.
was completely stressed. I felt completely broken.
Mhm.
I didn't see a way out.
Mhm.
And I decided to take a leap into the unknown and really trust what my heart was calling me to do, which was to walk away from it and take a year off and travel,
Mhm.
which I did. And that was back in 2011, and that was really the beginning, I would say, of my soul purpose journey, because it was
Mhm.
from that point on that I made a commitment to myself that I was going to quote unquote figure this thing out. I
Right.
wasn't going to suffer for a paycheck anymore, and that was when I really began my journey, taking us up to now, where I spent, from 2011 until 2016,
Mhm.
really digging deep on, a personal growth and spiritual growth opportunity to truly, at the time I didn't have the vocabulary for it, but to really try to quote unquote figure this thing out,
Right.
i.e., start to understand like what my purpose is and start to explore that and consider that as a possibility for my life.
Right, right. So, now about the book. I mean, I know you're probably doing reasonably well in your coaching career, and if you're doing well at it, you don't really need to write a book. So, what made you decide to write it out?
I felt compelled to share what I had learned. And I even say that I published my book because it was really important for me to just get the message out as soon and as quickly as possible.
Mm.
Because for me, I took every kind of career assessment test. I
Okay.
went all the traditional avenues, and I wasn't finding the answers that I was looking for. And
Mm.
so I started, pulling from all the kind of great spiritual teachers of our time, from Eckhart Tolle and Marianne Williamson and Louise Hay, and which all had wonderful information, but I still didn't understand how I would take that and apply it every day to, again, figure this thing out, how to align purpose, passion with how I make money. And so
Mm.
I started creating my own practices through this, and that's really what the book is. It's me sharing with you, with whoever chooses to read it, the practices that I applied and did every single day to get me to the point of being able to wake up and excited about what I do and get paid to do it.
Right, right, okay. And that's a great alignment because I mean, a lot of people might think, if I follow my purpose, I'm not going to get paid well. I gotta put nose to the grindstone and just do this job that I hate just so I can get paid and
Yeah,
develop
that
myself
is
later.
one of, I will tell you, and thank you so much for bringing that up. That is one of the major fear-based limiting beliefs that we anchor our lives to that is simply false. And it comes down to this. Do you really think, again, whatever your beliefs, universe, divine, God, whatever you choose to call it,
Mhm.
puts a true passion and desire and dream for your life within your heart that you really are excited about and want to do, that only leads to a path to poverty?
Mhm.
No, no, and that's one of the storylines that we tell ourselves. And in the work I do with folks, one of the biggest fear based beliefs that we really have to break through. The universe does not put a dream in your heart that there is not some path of abundance towards. It just doesn't work that way. The universe isn't cruel. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
So, but we tell ourselves that, and then we subscribe to that lie, and we tell ourselves that story, and then we live that story.
Mm, okay. So let me just get on down to the context before we get on with the stuff in the book. What is the single most important lesson that you believe that we, as human beings, we all need to learn? I guess you touched on that a little, but is there something even greater than that?
Well, I think there's a few, but I will say, I really believe what was really hard for me, and I'll draw on my experience,
Hmm.
is just believe is what I have called as lesson one in the book, is believing that you have a life purpose,
Hmm.
right? I used to think, I'm like, oh, I see that Oprah does. I get it. Yep, totally. Or,
Right,
whomever. I
right.
don't. It was like that I was somehow exempt, and that I was really the only special people have that. And I was just, one of the workers. right? And it was really coming to believe in its, a view of separation versus oneness, and really understanding, well, gosh, if Oprah does, then I must too, right? And again, a life purpose can be, however, big or small, but it was really just the idea that I'm here with something unique to do, and truly believing that. And once you kind of conquer that one, the rest flourishes, but that can be a really difficult one for so many of us to wrap our head around.
Okay, right, okay. And well, also, yeah, I mean, that is that is something. I mean, a lot of people recognize something special in others, and they think that person's special, but that's really isn't the case, isn't it? I mean, we all have something within us.
We all do. We all do. No one is exempt. No one is exempt. No one.
Okay, right, okay. So let me just touch a little bit on the topic of fear. I'm sure a lot of people live in fear without knowing what it really is. Can you give us a definition of what fear is?
False evidence that appears real.
Okay,
That's
all right.
Yeah, that's how I think about fear. And this took me a long time also to wrap my head around. For most of my life, and I still struggle with it. I'm still in it. I would be very clear on that. I was, again, this is all hindsight 2020, but I was mostly fear aligned in that if you really pause and you get quiet, meditation helps with this, but there's always kind of that voice of fear, your ego self, they're talking to you, and most of us identify it as us, that negative, oh my gosh, that'll never work. Oh my, that voice in your head. And then, the quieter, softer voice is your higher self, your true self, the kind of more essence of your soul that speaks to you in the voice of love. And what I've learned is that fear, 99% of the time, that voice is wrong. It's not correct. And so the way that I mostly engage with fear now, and this is the shift for me, I used to just believe the voice of fear, like without question. Yep, you're right. Yep, you're right. I believed it all the time. And now what I try to do is pause and get curious about it, right? And not believe it right off the bat. Because when I believe the voice of fear and I take actions based on what it has to say, I created my own little, self-created prison. That was my life, prior to stepping into this work of being unfulfilled, anxiety, kind of struggling every day.
Right.
And so now what I really view fear is a great teacher. And usually that voice of fear is revealing to me something within myself that is ready to be healed or needs to be healed.
Okay, that's an interesting context because, a lot of people, I guess, just about everyone, we think of fear as, this shows us something dangerous, we should avoid it. But in your context, fear comes up and you actually confront it.
Yeah, that is the daily practice I most live by now. That's probably, quite frankly, even in my coaching business, it always comes down, no matter how the problem is showing up, no matter how the problem is presenting itself, it comes down to some kind of fear that you believe to be true. And it's not.
Okay.
And it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
So can you just give us an example, just so we can get a concrete example of what fear is, that it isn't, and how it affects.
Yeah, look, you brought up a great one earlier, and it's one of the most common ones, and I'll, make it specific to the topic that we're talking about. It's,
all right.
I have a dream to do this thing, but I'll never make money do it. I will, be, I'll be, on the street in total poverty. Right. That is one of the biggest fears that people have. And again, like the work there, usually that what that fear is really saying to you is, in terms of the healing you need to have, is one, your beliefs about what the universe is and what it isn't. For one, that's like the fundamental kind of things there that need to be looked at.
Okay.
But two, it's okay. Do you feel that you're not worthy to receive? Do you really feel that that you're somehow like, a lot of times it's like abandonment issues. I'm going to be the one that's left out. So there's all different kinds of ways But again, it comes down to that, like, why do you assume that that's true? You know, like, and what does that really say? Do you not trust? Do you really need to work on the healing, like trust issues within you? Do
Right.
you believe that, you know, that you're just not talented enough? You won't be able to do it. Like, whatever it is, but it's like, really, what is that, like, belief that we subscribe to, that fear that we believe immediately and then it turns into a belief? What is that really about within you?
Right. So it occurs to me that when a fearful thought comes up, it could have many, I know, many reasons. I mean, many sources, something like that.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
okay, and that could, I mean, that could be confusing when it comes to trying to untangle what the heck is going on.
Yeah, look, I mean, it can be it can be as confusing as you allow it to be. You
Right.
know, that's
Okay.
the other
Okay.
thing. Our ego, you know, like that part of us will do. We're like, oh my God, we'll keep it so confusing because then you have like no way to solve it. Or
Right. Right.
the truth is, anytime, you know, something is coming up, literally, if you really sit quiet with yourself for 5 minutes and allow yourself to be honest with yourself, deep
Mhm.
down, you know the truth. You know what it's about. You really do at the core,
All
you
right.
know?
Okay. All right. Great. Cool. So let me flip to the other side of the coin. Love. Do you have any specific definition of what love is?
I love that question. You know, for me, I think of love as my recognition, the recognition of oneness. Like,
Hmm.
that is how I experience, and I'm talking about like love in terms of an energy, because that's the way I think about it. I view every day as, am I aligning with the energy of love, or am I aligning with the energy of fear? So I'll give you a concrete example of that. I
Okay.
always know my spiritual condition and how much I'm aligned in the energy of love versus fear
Hmm.
when I walk, you know, walk down the street, I walk down the sidewalk, and I truly like see myself and others and feel like a love for strangers. You know, I
Hmm.
feel a connection versus I feel, oh my God, that person's annoying me. I'll get out of my way, you know, whatever it is. Like, I always know that's such a reflection of my spiritual condition in that moment, in that day. And when you know, I very much believe, you know, one of the reasons I'm here, one of the reasons we're all here, is healing that disease of separation. And so for me, love is really my ability to feel oneness, you know, and I'll go back on, I don't know why I'm talking about Oprah today, but I'll even go back on that example to see myself as much as her as I might a homeless person on the street, right? You know, that there is no separation and there is no difference. And when I can get myself into that state and have my heart open and aligned in that frequency, really is what it is when I feel, you know, love the most.
Right. Right. And you know, the way you explain love to me, you know, it comes across as so simple, yet it comes across also comes across being pretty profound. I mean, this is very different from what people imagine love to be. I mean, the kind that, you know, you hear in a love song or stuff like that. This is very, very different.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm trying to even think of a different love song. But, you know, love songs are usually about, you know, you in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So, less about, you know, the oneness, the or, you know, or the other person. It's usually about you thinking about you within it. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And how it serves you and what it's done for you in some way.
Right. Right. Okay. So I just like to touch also on another concept that you covered, spirit. For you, what exactly is spirit?
You know, for me, spirit is really an energy, is the way I experience and feel it. Again, really back on the oneness, like, to me, like, spirit is everything. You know,
Hmm.
it's the essence I feel in a plant versus even in a rock, in an animal, and then
Hmm.
ultimately within myself. You
Hmm.
know, I believe spirit is within me.
Hmm.
And the more that I quiet the voice of fear, open my heart, and anchor to that frequency and love and oneness, I get to experience spirit. And, you know, the birds and the trees and the sky, you know, in that moment is even singing to me more at once. You know, I really can feel the presence. And when I shut my heart and get into the fear, I experience less of spirit. But it's really an energy to me in the way that I experience it on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, all right. Okay, cool. Got that. Okay. So let me get back a little bit on spirit and love. You know, what is it about love, and also what spirit as well, that enables growth and enables us to live the life we're supposed to lead and yet still be abundant while doing it?
Well, wow. I mean, I think it's just your recognition that you are it,
Mm,
really. That's the shift. That's the
mm,
perception shift. You know, one of the books that has taught me most is A Course in Miracles. And in there, they say every time there's a shift in perception from fear to love, a miracle has occurred.
mhm,
Every time. And for me, it's really, you know, the recognition that I am it, not that it's above me, you know, outside of me, something I'm trying to bring in. It's more something, it's a recognition of something that's within me that I allow out.
mhm,
You know, you mentioned abundance, something that I really, you know, for years, this was a real realization for me. For years, like, you know, so many of us, I had the vision boards, you know, I did all of that, but I realized I was creating those from a place of lack, meaning I
uh-huh,
didn't believe it was something I had. So I was trying to manifest it and bring it in, right?
mhm,
Like that's kind of what we do. And the shift for me was to instead start to realize I am already abundance. I am abundance. It's time to allow that out.
mhm,
Even to start to perceive abundance in everything. You know, everywhere I would look, I choose to see abundance. Every experience, good or bad, I choose to see abundance. And the more that I could shift that perspective, you know, that I was trying to like manifest something I didn't have and
right.
reverse bringing something out, it's still like that recognition of that I am it. And that's been really the shift for me in that respect.
Okay, interesting. So now about some of these your discoveries, the lessons you present in your book. You know, I don't want to give away the entire book right here and now, but you know, are there some lessons you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I would love to. So, one of the most important lessons is lesson 2, and it's only your heart knows your soul purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a really important one in that your purpose isn't something you're going to figure out, right? It's
Okay.
not something you're going to figure out. It's not like something that a test or something is going to reveal to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, you know, kind of no equation or whatever. There's no formula to it.
Right.
It's about really trusting in anchoring into your heart, like almost as a communication channel, if you will, and
Right.
believing what you find there and trusting that whatever is there is the truth.
All right.
Because you know, we can start doing things like, well, you know, I'm really good at this, so maybe that's it, right? Or whatever it is, and we can get, and that right there when I said that, that's like a thinking way to solve it. You're
Mm-hmm.
not going to think your way into your soul purpose. It's about getting quiet, getting in touch with what you love, what you dream about, whatever that is that's within
Right.
your heart, and
Right.
trusting whatever's there. And
Right.
that one of the most important lessons and one of the hardest, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yes, it is. And knowing too, and especially when you're, and it's really important to mention when you're first doing this work,
Uh-huh.
you know, something might come up that you're like, that's outrageous. So, you know, at first it might not be quote unquote like the answer, but it's most definitely a clue. And
Uh-huh.
it's just really getting into observing and being honest and true with yourself about what's there, about what you really, really want, you know, about what you really, really want. And being, you know, honest about that. And then you know, another really important lesson is lesson 6, and it's what the title of the book is based on, and it's, you know, believe in what you want with conviction. And I
Mm-hmm.
often say the truth that's within our heart
Hmm.
is often, especially when you're first doing this work, more real than the one that you see.
Hmm.
So, and as you start to believe that, the reality you see will reflect that truth that's within the heart. But
Hmm.
when you're starting out and you have that dream and you've uncovered your soul purpose and now you know what it is staying just, closing your eyes, you see that vision, you see that truth in your heart, that vision for your life, and believing in that no matter what the world is showing you, especially, when you're in the first year of doing this work.
Right.
Believing, believing, believing. And so those are two really important lessons in the book.
All right, cool, fantastic. Okay, so yeah, I mean, like, sure, I mean, especially as you mentioned the first year, I'm sure you know your purpose, but then there's all these evidence that you might encounter. The world does happen as you go along that will counter that.
Yeah, well, that's part of the lesson.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's really, the uber big lesson is to, believe in your heart despite what is showing you, what is showing up for you, and to continue to rise up and trust that.
Right. Right. Okay. So Jessica, let's say you came across someone who was, kind of like in the same situation that you were in before you started your present career. Someone who's kind of burned out or desperate, knows something needs to change. Um, and you had only enough time to tell that person one thing about achieving their goal or about coming in terms with what their real purpose is. What would be that one thing you tell that person?
Well, wow, that's such a tough one. I think, and I just use my experience as an example. What I really needed to hear when I was in that state is,
Okay.
yes, this isn't what's meant for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how miserable you are, how tired you are, all of that. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel right because it's not, and to validate that and to tell them that you do have a purpose, you have a unique possibility for your life that is just waiting to come out, and I promise you there's a path towards it. I promise you no one is exempt from this. That's really what I would say to that person, because when you're in it, it's very hard to see or believe that there's a way out. It's
Right,
really hard.
right. Especially if you're in a state, like you're depressed or, you know, really burned out.
Oh, been there. I mean, I
Yeah,
was, I
yeah.
was, I would say I was emotionally, physically, and mentally broken,
Right,
on all levels. So I get it.
right. Okay. So, Jessica, in the last minute or so of this interview, are there any words of wisdom you'd like to share to inspire listeners?
You know, I would just love everyone to know that if any of this is resonating with you, I mean, really in line with what I just said, if any of this is resonating with you on any way, shape, or form, know that know that there is a great possibility for your life that's truly just waiting for you to step into. It's a journey, but it's such a journey that is worth it.
Hmm.
It is, the whole world will look different to you. The moment that I came to believe, really, the moment that I believed and understood, which is, what I talked about in lesson one, that I
Hmm.
had a life purpose and I decided I was stepping into this,
Hmm.
everything started shifting and changing. It was like the
Hmm.
universe was just waiting for me to say, I believe. And I've always been supported through it.
Hmm.
Everything, will I say it's been totally easy? No, that
Hmm.
wouldn't be true. But I've always been supported. I've always been taken care of. And I would not take back a second of this, and I would never go back to where I was. Never.
All right, cool. Great, great words of wisdom. Cool. Okay, so in closing then, the book is Dare to Believe 12 Lessons for Living Your Soul Purpose. The author is our guest, Jessica Joyce, and you can find her book on Amazon. So, Jessica, thank you very much for being an author story. I must say it was pretty enlightening speaking with you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's truly my pleasure.
You're welcome. So, everyone, check out Dare to Believe and be sure to subscribe to our channel to check out all the awesome authors and great books we have covered and will cover in the future. See you guys all next time on Author Story, where we speak to another inspiring author about another great book.